Hey, good people of Columbia, my name's Gene Garris, filling in for David Califf. We're doing some Book of Faces live thing, too, so I'm working on getting that done, too. So give me just a moment as we use the high-tech, I think it's Powerade jar, and I'm showing the, we just had the great program, The Point of Pets, with Tammy Mitchell, and we have some pet-themed headphones that we're going to put here. But I hope everybody had a wonderful, if not crazy, amazing Thanksgiving. We did Thanksgiving at the beach again. I think this is our second or third year doing that. And it's great. And I have little polar bear children, and they all got in the water, and so we had a great trip. And then we had the South Carolina Big Football Contest, where that Clemson Tiger University handily defeated our good friends at the University of South Carolina, and that's okay. And driving back, it was fine. Everything was great. And now comes Christmas. And for us, we have obligations that start with the Greek Festival, South Carolina. Columbia's Greek Festival down at Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Cathedral. And we do the Greek Festival and all the things that are required for that, and then we're hit immediately with Nutcracker practice. I've got a daughter that dances in that, and then we have Thanksgiving, and then we have just a roll where there's not that much free time or open time from September to the New Year. So that's where we are, and it has been crazy, but crazy in a good way. And I'm not saying that there's some sense of optimism, that there's some big change in the country based on political realities, things that have happened, but I feel there's a difference, and that might be totally my bias. That's not uncommon for me to have a bias. Telephone number here is 803-799-8255. That's 803-799-TALK. And David Califf is the normal host of this program, and you know, this is his progressive program. He has created this out of whole cloth and has previously been syndicated throughout the country on a couple stations, both in Oklahoma, Texas. That's the other one, but I know he was on in D.C. all at the same time. So he does a progressive show, and I'm not a progressive person. But I like him a lot because he's a good person. And I think even though we drastically disagree, that his points and his opinions are based on trying to make things better for the average person, or not necessarily the average person, but the exceptional person on the low end of the scale. So he's out there, you know, trying to fix, and in his day job too. That's what he does, is he makes things better for people that can't do that on their own. So I fully understand that, and you know, that's one argument our friends on the left will always win, and that is, who cares more for the poor, or for the disadvantaged, or for a whole host of things that on the compassion scale or on the good intention scale, that our friends on the left will always win that argument, because the actual results aren't necessarily measured as tightly as the intention. And I think everybody would want everybody to do well, but we cannot throw away how people act and what really drives people. So we've had a big election. We're trying to figure out what to do with the new administration. There's still the election, you know, it's being fought on a couple of fronts. We have people trying to swing non-statutorily committed electors to swing away from their agreed candidate. We have some recounts going on. We've got Jill Stein, who this is a strange thing, and this is not really left right. It's just a thing, an observation. Jill Stein was, I think, maybe the strongest, if not most effective, critic of Hillary Clinton during the election, and from the left, coming from the left. Bernie Sanders came from the left and was able to, in the primary, really, I thought, cut Hillary Clinton's knees off. I really believe that Bernie Sanders had broken with what I think are the true left, and agree or disagree with them. They do exist, and they're out in the world, going to school and working, and so these are real people. But I thought he did a good job of going after Hillary Clinton. And then during the general election, Jill Stein from the Green Party really went after Hillary Clinton from a principled standpoint when she said that the election of Hillary Clinton would bring us to World War III, and that from a security of the nation standpoint, you'd be better voting for Donald Trump than Hillary Clinton. Now, all of a sudden, I don't know if this is to maintain her credentials, but Jill Stein and the Green Party are leading the charge to have recounts in these other states. And as a good government person, I'm not necessarily a good government person, but all these elections, a recount should not threaten anybody. Accountability should not be a threat. It just shouldn't be a threat. A recount should be a positive thing. But it should be quick. It should be seamless. It should be with the utmost of integrity. And that's where we have the problems. There have been jokes in Texas in statewide elections and district elections where it said, oh, well, all these boxes, these polling place boxes have not been accounted for. And, the joke is, well, why haven't they been accounted for? And that's, well, they have to figure out how many votes they need. So we have a history in our country, as most countries do, of election problems. And that's okay. That would happen. But we just got to make sure that when we find out about them, that people that are doing criminal acts, that they need to go away. That they need to be adequately sanctioned, and that the actual process is not completely or really undermined. So we should be able to have a recount, and it shouldn't be a big deal. It shouldn't be the end of the world. The Trump camp shouldn't be, shaking their fist at the heavens. And the same thing that there should be no glee among the people on the other side. So we should have good elections. Well, part of a good election, and this is something that, I'm not a gambler. I'm not a card player. That's just something that's part of my who I am. That's just not my thing. Gambling does not excite me. Well, the motion of the cards and the community, that could be a positive thing for a non-gambler like me. But for somebody to sit down in front of a machine, a video poker machine, where the cards don't actually exist, where they're not limited, somebody would sit down and do that for these pretend drawn on the card, drawn on the screen cards with a registered payout, a guaranteed payout that it pays out a certain percentage. Well, that definitely wouldn't do it for me. So when we have converted largely whole states from traditional voting methods of mechanical machines or paper to the electronic voting machine, that throws up a whole bunch of just weird stuff. And you can go to the internet right now. You can go to that video site, YouTube, and just search for voting machine hack. And there are videos of people doing this stuff live, 5 minutes of video where people were going through and showing how easy it is to compromise a voting machine. That we can't have that in America. And if here in South Carolina, if we have those machines, we're going to need to get another machine. And ideally, I would like it in South Carolina that, and I know this is going to create some problems with people that believe that an ID is somehow bad for democracy and that undermines our poor folks. But in South Carolina, I think your driver's license ought to be your voting ID. And not just your voting ID, I think that your driving license or your state ID issued through the DMV should be your voting card. And I would like it, ultimately, that you could, let's say that you, I live in Forest Acres, let's say that I work in Irmo, it's sort of reverse of how things work usually, but let's say that my polling place, this polling station in Irmo is closer and more convenient to me, so I should be able to take an early lunch, go to the voting station, take my card, swipe it in the machine, it register who I am and what House district I am in and what South Carolina Senate district and everything else, and what questions might be on the ballot, whether or not it's for somebody trying to raise a tax or borrow on a bond thing, and then I should be able to vote even though the polling station is not where I live. We should have a system like that. And we should also have a system of receipts where at the end of this transaction that I get a receipt, a printout, just like, you know, if democracy is so important in this representative republic that we have, if it's such a big deal, even the gas station machine gives you a receipt. Why couldn't we have a receipt? So you can say, well, you know, I voted at polling station 1444, and the people that I marked a ballot for were this, and this, and on questions 1 through 4 I answered yes, and on question 5 I answered no, and that should be supplied to me, and then also a copy to the major parties in the state, and then that should be it. So if there's a problem, if you find out that it's a George Soros occupied thing, if there's something else going on there, that you should be able to have some sort of redress, that you should have something that you can come back against. And we're going to take a caller. Hey, caller, how are you doing?
Very good. The reason that you went to the polling place, the precincts in all of the cities throughout the United States and in the rural areas, everybody knew one another. So you went
Right.
where you voted, and somebody in the polling place, the Democrats or the Republicans, would recognize you and vouch for you. Say, oh yeah, I know him.
Or yeah, I've never seen your name before. It shows up here on the roll. Hold on for just a moment, and we have a quick whiplash break. We'll be right back. Hold on. All right, so you're listening to Inside Politics with David Califf. I'm Gene Garris, filling in for him. We're doing the Facebooky thing, too.
When you need help with your heating and air, does it matter that someone's local? Well, it helps, but that's not the reason you pick them. Does it matter that they have 25 years in Columbia helping people? Again, it helps, but not the reason. How about that they're really supportive of the military and are both vets themselves? Again, great thing, but not the deciding factor. Now, you pick All-American Heating and Air because someone you trust recommends them. That helps. I'm hopefully someone you trust. Well, I recommend them. I strongly encourage you. Choose All-American Heating and Air. They're local, they're experienced, they're proud military supporters. That's all good, but my personal experience with them is what matters to me. They came out to my house, they helped me get my system running better, they helped me save some money on my electric bill, and most importantly, they alerted me to a few things that have cost me some big bucks if they weren't addressed. If your system isn't running right, call All-American Heating and Air. Their phone number, 796-8356. Their prices are fair, they are reliable, they are clean, and they are ethical. All-American Heating and Air, 796-8356.
Columbia's local talk radio experience. This is The Point, 95.9 FM and 1470 AM. Inside Politics continues with David Califf.
All right, and in full disclosure, I'm Gene Garris filling in for David. Caller, you could have held on for just a couple seconds more. I told you it was be quick. It'd be about a minute and a half. But he did raise a good point, and that is that there is a community portion of voting. There is a community aspect to it. But, we used to have institutions like the church, and that's where people came together. And I'll give you a little example. When I was living in Atlanta, I'm born here in Columbia, South Carolina, raised here, and then went to Clemson University and came back after I was graduated from Clemson, and then ended up going to professional school, and then I ultimately ended up back here. But I was living in Atlanta and working, and during Halloween time, the radio news came out and said, and this sheriff or this law enforcement official says, don't take your kids to anybody's house that you don't know. And the truth of the matter is nobody knows anybody, because everybody's from somewhere else, and your neighbor at the apartment complex across the hall might not be there for a full year lease term. Because their job got moved around. So we're going to come back. Maybe this is our caller. Hey, caller, how are you?
How you doing? I got disconnected.
Okay, well, that's fine.
Your end or my end. But, okay. Talking about this, kind of interesting. With all of the things that we have today with computers and all, I think that we should vote 7 to 10 days before the election. The election is on the 8th. You can go and vote on the 8th, but you could also vote going back as early as into October.
Well, I definitely want the official voting day to be the last of it. But I'm actually sort of worried in the early voting that they start talking about, well, early voting says that in this county in South Carolina that 10 times more Republicans have early voted than Democrats, or the reverse. I don't think they should be giving that information out. I think your vote should be determined about what's in your heart and in your head and what you understand, not, I got to get out and vote because my team is getting whacked, or it's not going to make a difference, so I'm not going to do it. I think these things are important.
Well, I do too. And another thing that I don't agree with is giving the polling the day of the election, or even a week before, or 2 weeks before the election. They stop people on the street. Who are you going to vote for? You give a name and all that. They compute all of this stuff. I don't believe the press anymore.
Well, I'll tell you the truth about those. There are real polls out there. And actually, I've been talking a little bit too much about that Book of Faces thing, and we're doing a Facebook Live broadcast of David's program with me filling in for him right this moment. But there is real polling, and that polling is expensive, and it's done by parties, and it's done by candidates and campaigns. So when Hillary Clinton, in this last national contest, canceled the fireworks, that's when she knew she was not going to be president of the United States, because her real high-dollar polling said it's just not going to happen.
She knew that when she stumbled in New York with the car, hit back into the car.
Well, they did a lot of work to try to fix that. But the other polling, the non-high dollar, the non-commissioned by candidate, campaign, or party, the public consumption polls, those are all just news generation.
Right.
They're all fake. They're all fake. I mean, that's the deal. If they say that, I think the L.A. Times poll was pretty much lining up with how the country ended, and I think the Investors Business Daily poll, that it was pretty much lined up with what happened. But the reason all those other ones were wrong was because they existed not to find the truth. They existed to push a narrative. That, she's up by 15 points. Well, that was never the case. That was just a fabrication. That was either to elevate turnout among the other side, which I don't think that's the case, or it was to suppress turnout on the other side.
Or what else could it be? let's think about that. Let's see, what else could it be?
Well, the thought
Could
is,
it be money?
well, that
Could it be looking for donations? Like, they say Hillary's a way up or something like that, and she's going to be president. So those with real big bucks say, hey, I want to be in on this. So corporations, big business, they write a check.
Well, that
into the program.
Well, that's a question after the election. People will come up to you, and I've worked for a constitutional officer here in this state, and they say, "Well, I voted for you," and so, well, the real vote is when you wrote that check when I wasn't winning. That's the real vote. Well, thanks so much for calling. We're going to jump to the next caller. Hey, caller, how are you doing? Hello.
Hello.
Yes. How are you? This is Gene Garris filling in for David Califf.
Hey, Gene, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, and I suspect that you are Michael from New York City.
My gosh, how did you guess?
Well, you have a very distinctive voice, and I will say that my wife and I were in your fair city in September, and what a wonderful place it is.
Can't beat New York City. Very nice place to be at. Daytime, tourist attractions, and very nice place.
Well, I'll tell you something, Michael, before we talk about the politics stuff. My wife has been offered a job in the past, and we looked at moving, and we were sort of focusing on maybe Astoria, and it was a very positive thing for us, except for housing. So we were just tooling around and doing our stuff on this 3-day mini vacation in New York City. And for us, breakfast, phenomenal, cheaper than our home market. Lunch,
Wow.
same thing, phenomenal, but we're frugal people, cheaper than in our home market. Dinner, much more expensive, but fantastic nonetheless. So if somebody could pay for, if we would cover dinner and housing, we'd be neighbors, Michael.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, yes, the dinner prices would be quite hefty in various places, but the quality.
Yeah, that's it.
Top notch, and the quantity as well could be really top notch, where you will have to take some stuff home for leftovers.
Right. All right, so thanks for entreating me with letting me spill the beans on my love for your fair city. But tell me what's going on there, Michael.
And don't be a stranger. Feel free to swing on back here and let me know.
Well, at least once a year, I think. That's another thing. I am a local. I want to shop local. I want to really empower my community. And but the shopping opportunities, same thing.
Yeah.
Much more competitive on a whole range of prices. So if you're a consumer, even with sort of draconian taxes that you think that's how it is from the outside, it's not so bad.
That's right. And that's why, that's why also you have to pick up the local newspaper, and it has the various flyers inside where you might want to shop, and then the sales. Won't pay attention to those sales.
Now, I want to make a point, and this is the point about you only know what you know, and if you don't know, you don't know anything. So as a South Carolinian, somebody that was born and largely raised in Columbia, South Carolina, I have an idea of what New York City is. I have an idea about what things cost, and for 2 weeks of my life, I've spent time in New York, courtesy of Clemson University. But being there as a consumer who has to earn what he's consuming and everything else, it's much better than I ever imagined. Because that which I knew, I didn't know.
And partially you could thank our current mayor, Bill de Blasio, for that as well.
Okay, I think, I don't know, I have been there during the Dinkins administration and during the Giuliani administration.
And that is the major difference. That's the major difference between Giuliani and sometimes even Bloomberg. The thing is that when you have somebody like de Blasio or a Democrat in office who really is about equal opportunity, equal accountability, that's where we strive. That's what we strive to get better at.
Well,
And when it benefits everybody, not just a certain 1 or 2%.
well, I can't, because it was only 3 days, I didn't really get to
Right.
go into the.
I just thought to give you a heads up on that part.
Well, I'll pay more and more attention. I hope to be there at least 3 or 4 days every year, and maybe more for the rest of my life. So that's it's a good place to visit, for sure, if not live.
So, going to the politics, so forth,
Uh-huh.
and regarding the media, I want to focus on the media's irresponsibility here. And let me give a slight example. If I can go back 10 years.
Okay.
This is the 10th anniversary, ironically, this weekend is the 10th anniversary of the killing of one African American named Sean Bell. Now, if his name does not ring a bell, Sean Bell was killed by 50 shots from cops hours before his wedding. In a big trial, which the cops decided to go for a bench trial, meaning a judge will decide the case. The judge, as well as many judges, sided with the cops and acquitted them. The cops in question said that they fired 50 shots because they thought their lives were on the line, and there was a car that went out of control, and they thought that the car was going to run them over. Well, these cops were plainclothes, and not one single ID was on them. And the people, the occupants, including the groom, who was fatally shot, were trying to get away from gunfire. And
Which totally makes sense. If somebody's, if there's a risk, you want to get away from it.
Right, exactly. And some of the cops in question, while acting undercover, were involved in drinking, and some people that said that they were heavily drinking. So the cops said that, well, of course, yes, we were drinking because we wanted to blend in with the crowd and keep our undercover status. The problem with the media is that they never ask two critical questions. And that's one. You want to blend in with the crowd. Why do you have to drink? Because I'm one perfect example. I go to karaoke. I go to some of these places that serve the alcohol, and I rarely touch the alcohol. I might have a light beer at the most, but I usually don't touch the alcohol. And when people ask me, how come you're not drinking? I tell them, because I'm driving. And they say, enough said, no further questions asked. And I was still blending in with the crowd. So why couldn't these officers do the same thing? So I think that their judgment was impaired by the amount of alcohol that they may have consumed that night. And if the car was such a threat to their lives, why the hell are you going to fire at the occupants and knock them out or kill them? And then there's no live person inside that vehicle to stop that vehicle from going out of control. Therefore, you jeopardize
everybody.
the public even more. Instead of disabling the vehicle, blow out the tires or what have you, if the car was the one that was detrimental. No one at that time asked those critical questions. Now you fast forward to today with the.
All right, hold on, Michael. Hold on, just a minute. We have another one of these breaks to take. Okay, we're going to pull you down here and come right back to you in just a moment.
QXL Columbia U240 AL's TQS camera from the Larry Tennyson Son Roofing and Remodeling Studio. The Point, 1470 AM. WQXL Columbia U240 AL's TQS camera from the Larry Tennyson Son Roofing and Remodeling Studio. The Point, 1470 AM. WQXL Columbia U240
Oh my goodness, that's just crazy.
Larry Tennyson Son Roofing and Remodeling Studio. The Point, 1470 AM.
There's something that I'm emotionally attached to. It's called the American Dream.
Herman Cain.
And the American Dream is empowered by the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States of America, and our free market system. That's why I fight so hard and I talk so hard about preserving those empowering concepts.
Solutions for a better America. Weekday mornings 10 till noon. The Point. MakeThePointRadio.com.
When you need help with your heating and air, does it matter that someone's local? Well, it helps, but that's not the reason you pick them. Does it matter that they have 25 years in Colombia helping people? Again, it helps, but not the reason. How about that they're really supportive of the military and are both vets themselves? Again, great thing, but not the deciding factor. Now, you pick All-American Heating and Air because someone you trust recommends them. That helps. I'm hopefully someone you trust. Well, I recommend them. I strongly encourage you, choose All-American Heating and Air. They're local, they're experienced, they're proud military supporters. That's all good, but my personal experience with them is what matters to me. They came out to my house, they helped me get my system running better, they helped me save some money on my electric bill, and most importantly, they alerted me to a few things that have cost me some big bucks if they weren't addressed. If your system isn't running right, call All-American Heating and Air. Their phone number, 796-8356. Their prices are fair, they are reliable, they are clean, and they are ethical. All-American Heating and Air, 796-8356.
We all know healthcare has changed drastically. It's quite the puzzle to sort through your options and find a health insurance plan that's affordable and maximizes your benefits. And you're now required by law to have health insurance, or you may pay a tax penalty. So let the Health Markets Insurance Agency help you. They offer plans from over 120 different companies and can even help you obtain government subsidies. Let them do all the research for you and show you how affordable health insurance can be. A service that's at no extra cost to you. Call now and learn your options to find affordable health insurance. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325, 800-980-9325, 800-980-9325. Health Markets Insurance Agency is the DBA or assumed name of Mid-Sphere Insurance Solutions, Inc., which is a licensed insurance agency in all 50 states and D.C. Not all agents are licensed to sell all products. Service availability varies by state.
All right, so we're back and cutting short that because we have our friend Michael on the line. Michael, all the way from New York City. I want to tell you a little bit about a case that happened here in my fair city. We had a group of recruits or new military folks, being the largest military training base on the planet here in Columbia, South Carolina, and they were at a place, and I believe the name of the place was Buffalo Wild Wing, and one of these Army girls was very attractive, and a guy started hitting on her a little bit. A little drunk guy was hitting on her. Not very common in these type places, and he was rebuffed. She didn't want anything to do with him, and was like, "Hey, buddy, I don't want anything to do with you. Just get away." And he went to his car, retrieved his handgun and handcuffs, put her under arrest. Her Army buddies in the room filmed the incident and called the police themselves. So while this drunk, off-duty cop was kidnapping and assaulting their friend, the regular police showed up and then intervened on behalf of the drunk officer until one of them saw the video and then freed the woman, placed the drunk guy under arrest. So, you know, even though things might be magnified where you are, this happens in smaller places too.
Yeah, but and the thing is,
but it didn't resort in murder.
No,
but it could have.
It could have. And my next question at that point was, if this guy was actually a real cop, because we still have the problem of cop impersonators, or those are no longer on the force, but still have these police tools to go about acting like they're police officers,
right?
Bullying people and giving recent police officers a bad name. But going back to what I was discussing, I know that I started off discussing about the Sean Bell case, and then led to the incident you just described. And yes, there needs to be better relations between police and the public. The thing is that while I was focusing on the media, when you fast forward to today, throughout the campaign, right? It was Donald Trump that's coming up with this false story. What's that false story? The election is rigged, it's rigged against me. And find out that, you know, he just lied to his face. He's investigation.
Which he settled. He settled that. He had to pay out like $25 million.
Settled after the election.
Right.
I'm talking about counting up to.
Right, but so if you had been if you had been a if you'd been a media critic of Donald Trump, your ideas were totally exonerated because the guy that doesn't settles. He paid up.
But here's the thing, Gene, that there are so many legalities pending against that man, both civil and criminal, including the assault on women that he bragged about, including some of the other shady business practices like receiving foreign monetary gifts from overseas that may have had an influence on the election, and that was pretty much against the law also. The violence that was perpetrated by him, the racial hatred. I mean, we still see and hearing about swastikas going around, and they say vote Trump or now support Trump, yay Trump, go Trump. I mean, it's all this stuff going all around the nation. He had not denounced it since during the campaign and even after the election, but yet the media focused so much on Hillary's doggone emails, which she's been cleared time and time again about the Benghazi, cleared time and time again.
Well, that's something that doesn't
going on a witch hunt, and I gotta tell you, even on that election night, when people found it mysteriously that Hillary was leading in a lot of these battleground states, and then at the last moment, a lot of them all of a sudden
the rural counties came in. Yeah, see, that's sort of a weird thing. I don't have television in the house, so I have to follow my.
I got news for you.
Go ahead.
I got news for you. A lot of people are fearing that it was rigged, but not against Trump, but for Trump, and the system could have been hacked. That's why you got the recounts going on now in 3 of these battleground states. I mean, it does.
So we're going to Wisconsin's a lock. Wisconsin, they're definitely doing it. They're trying to do it in Michigan, and then what's the other place? Is Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania.
So that'll be sort of interesting. But the strange thing is, I would have thought the media would have been more aligned with. The media tends to be largely Democratic. The media tends to be largely progressive or left. Okay, go ahead.
I got the answer to that, and it was said by both Chuck Todd and Andrea Mitchell on NBC when the election tallies came in. When the tallies were coming in, and they say that Trump wins the presidency, both of them were sitting there stone wall face, like they couldn't believe what just happened. And even Chuck Todd said that the media, and we are part of the media, we are partially responsible for what just happened, the shocking turn of events. I think what happened is that they just let Trump have a platform and treated him like he was a clown or something. I know some newspapers called him a clown and figured like, oh, he ain't going to get it, or this like Hillary shooing. The polls were probably correct, but no one kept their eyes open for any shenanigans.
Well, hopefully, Michael, we'll find out what's going on. I actually got a double text of somebody that's been on hold for 20 minutes. Let me take them, and hopefully to catch you next week here on Inside Politics with David Califf.
Keep your eyes and ears open.
Pay lots of attention.
With the popular vote being so much of a gap with the Electoral College, something's definitely wrong.
All right. Thanks so much, Michael. All right. So thanks for holding on, caller. I'm Gene Garris filling in for David Califf. So tell me, you have a very special issue.
Hello. Thank you for having me on the show. My name is Lee Hakeem, and I am a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. And I'm answering the call to arms to the Dakota Access Pipeline. The 3rd of December to the 7th of December. We're going to be mustering and putting ourselves in harm's way to protect the water protector from the militarized and often violent law enforcement presence
Now, who are the law enforcement people? Are they federal folks? Are they state and local folks? Are they contractors hired by the pipeline folks? Who are these people that are having the interface with the protesters?
Now, first, I want to say that I am not an organizer, and I'm calling as a private citizen and a veteran. And from what I've been gathering, there are over 37 different state and local law enforcement agencies. None of them are federal. So you have different highway patrol, different sheriff's departments, police departments, and various LEOs working together in cohesion against the natives.
No, I just don't understand that. I'm surprised that President Obama has not stepped in. That if video message only, because I think even though I sort of disagree and don't understand the entirety of the situation, I would have thought that this would have been a tailor-made thing for President Obama. Where is he?
Well, one thing that I've noticed, or one of many things that I've noticed, is that President-elect Trump and President Obama are in one in their decision to support the pipeline. They are not working in the best interest of the American population, in my opinion.
But President Obama interfered with Keystone XL and shut it down. You would think that, if Keystone XL was inappropriate to be permitted and licensed or whatever through the federal government, that surely this pipeline that's supposed to go through burial grounds and all this other stuff would be much more sympathetic than the Keystone XL folks.
I can't speak for President Obama. I disagree with him on many issues, but his aligning with President-elect Trump is putting together alliances that normally would not exist. You have Marine, Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard veterans of all political stripes. You have conservatives, you have Tea Party, you have Democrats, you have socialists, you have libertarians, all coming together to protect our Native Americans, to protect our water source. So they are making alliances that probably would not have existed had they not pushed as hard as they're pushing.
Mm-hmm. Well, presidential candidate Jill Stein was arrested for spray painting on the front, I think, of a bucket of a earth mover. I think Amy Goodman is her name, is one of the on-the-scene reporters, and I think she's
Amy
been...
Goodman from Democracy Now!, they had an arrest warrant for her.
Yeah.
Reporting, and several other journalists have been arrested or have had warrants after their arrest for writing, for reporting on, for reporting on this story. And this is really very un-American. And something that I'd also like to mention is...
All right, hold on a second. Waleed, we'll give you some more time, but we've got to hit a quick hard break, but we'll be right back. All right, so it's Gene Garris filling in for David Califf.
The only afternoon local talk radio in Columbia is the Afternoon Drive with Kev. It's all about you. It's your phone calls. It's my challenging topics. All the news, traffic, and weather weekdays, 4 p.m. on The Point.
What can you expect when you trust Sudeth Automotive with your car? A family-owned business with more than 40 years of automotive service in Columbia. A state-of-the-art equipped shop with well-qualified mechanics. When Sudeth works on your vehicle, a shuttle service to make sure you can get to work or back home. And not only will your car come back working right, it'll come back looking right. Because Sudeth provides a free car wash with vehicle service. Sudeth Automotive, 1410 North Millwood Avenue. Call 256-2110 or on the web at sudethauto.com.
You're building your dream home or remodeling the kitchen. You have two choices. You can go a cookie cutter route or you can go the custom way with a call to Congaree Woodworks. Sean Truitt and his team have over 50 years combined experience. They use only the best materials and have incredible creativity. Sean is with you from the first meeting until the job is done. They build cabinets, furniture, and most importantly, relationships. Licensed, insured, and local. Congaree Woodworks, 518-4729. That's 518-4729.
Columbia's local talk radio experience. This is The Point, 95.9 FM and 1470 AM.
Inside Politics continues with David Califf.
All right, and as I think sort of fair disclosure, my name's Gene Garris. I'm not David Califf. I'm filling in for him this great Thanksgiving holiday weekend. And we've talked a lot about different things on David's program. But we have a special guest, call-in guest, Waleed Hakeem, and we're talking about the Dakota pipeline and all the things that are involved in that. And there's a bunch of these things that I just don't understand.
Gene, if I could mention a free speech zone.
We know they did that during the Bush administration for a protest here in our state. The whole country is a free state, a free speech zone.
That was my understanding. As a former Marine, I took an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And from my perspective, I view what's happening to the natives, what's happening to them is despicable, and it makes the law enforcement community up there, not the entire law enforcement community. I'd like to let the audience know that I'm a former police officer in addition to a former Marine.
But even if you disagree with the Native American protesters, even if you say, oh well, they don't really have a complaint, they have the right to complain.
I may not agree with what you say, but I will defend your right to say it to the death. Voltaire.
Well, I'm willing to accept that I don't know the truth, and one of these people might tell me the truth. There might be something to be gleaned that will change my idea of this public policy. Why does the law enforcement setting up a free speech zone? Where are your papers? Please.
Actually, I believe this is being done by the Army Corps of Engineers. They are setting up the free speech zone. They're closing down, or they're going to attempt to close down one of the camps a day after the veterans arrive. The last I heard, we have a head count now of 2,100 United States military veterans that are on roster that are committed to actually going, not just interested. Myself and a few former Marines are going to be leaving from Columbia, South Carolina, and I've set up a GoFundMe page to pay for not only our gas and food, but for our body armor. They are recommending that we purchase ear protection and body armor. There's a high likelihood that we will be tangling with law enforcement.
Well, I have
requesting bail money.
Well, I have a fear that much like the Game of Thrones, that the biggest problem with the protest is that winter is coming. And from my understanding, South Dakota is a miserable place in January.
It is. And probably one of the reasons the call to veterans went out is because many of us have the necessary training to help us survive the inclement weather. Desert training, cold weather training. I spent 5 years in the Marine Corps, and it was all done in training. I served during time of peace, not time of war, so we were training the entire time. I would like people to visit my GoFundMe page.
All right, say it. Tell us.
WALID HAKIM, and your donation will not only help me, but other veterans in going up there and keeping us safe. We're going to purchase medical supplies, food, blankets. We plan on having some casualties, unfortunately. That's the nature of the business. I'm reminded by a quote by Edmund Burke. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph
is for good men
people to do nothing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
this is a chance for many of us to redeem ourselves for a service that we felt may not have been the most honorable. This is a chance for many veterans, like myself, to go and do something that we think that will actually benefit our country. Where we're working and serving for the American people, not for the corporate interests, not for the oil companies. This is for America.
Well, I just cannot figure out how the Obama administration was able to push back and stop Keystone XL. But this, which seems to, in my mind, would be much more threatening to key constituencies that and really with the executive stops things, the executive chooses not to act, or the executive lets things happen. Why is he letting this happen? That's just weird to me. He could have pushed it back at least until the end of his term. He could have...
Whatever reason it is, it cannot be a good reason. Perhaps...
Because we'd know it. If it was legitimate, we'd know it.
Yeah. So I am not a fan of our president. I believe him to be too conservative to be a Democrat. He's just too much of a conservative. He is a 1974 Republican.
Okay, I think I'm going to...
If he was running for office during the time of Jimmy Carter, I believe Barack Obama would be viewed as a moderate Republican, certainly not a Democrat.
Well, I'm going to let that rattle around in my head for a little bit. That's sort of an interesting way. So tell me what the GoFundMe page is again.
My name is spelled W-A-L-I-D. My last name is spelled H-A-K-I-M. You can find it on Facebook, on Twitter. I put it out there on many social media platforms, on Instagram. Gene, I put it on your page.
Yeah.
Perhaps you can pass it around for me and let people know about it. And every penny helps. If you can give $1 or $5, they all help.
And you're putting your personal life on hold. So this is a sacrifice for in many ways. But you're taking the activities of your daily life and putting it all on pause to do this. And I hope that whatever happens, and that at least you get the word out, and this does not happen because it was done in silence and in the dark.
Well said.
All right, well, thanks so much, Waleed, and look forward to hearing you. Hopefully, I'll talk to David Califf and his program, or my program, which is next. I love when you get on the scene there. And how about this? This might be a way to that you can offset some of your personal expenditures visiting South Dakota. Is research the it's the eternal, or it's the long time. It's a family dynastic trust that doesn't expire. That's one little flavor of the law they have in South Carolina, in South Dakota, that they don't have anywhere else in the country. So people with lots of assets and have incorporated and created these family dynastic trusts in South Dakota. I think the Pritzker family is known for this, even though they live in Rhode Island. Somehow all their stuff is being run out of South Dakota. So that might be a little interesting wrinkle on your way out there. But thanks for calling, and we'll talk to you later.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on the show, and I'm happy to give y'all updates live from on scene in South Dakota.
Oh, that would be great. So we'll, if I suspect that David would do that, but I definitely will. So we'll talk to you in the future, and have a safe trip out there when you go.
Thank you very much, Gene. Happy holidays, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks so much. So that's Waleed Hakim, who's one of the. I actually met him in person at the Occupy Columbia thing, where I visited with a number of my friends, some radio friends, and people that do media stuff out there. That was very interesting. And we'll take another call. So, hey, caller, how are you doing?
Hey, Gene, it's Michael.
Hey, Michael.
You know, it's one thing I forgot to bring to your attention and to my fellow listeners in terms of the media.
Okay.
As you know, Kellyanne Conway, who was Trump's campaign manager.
And who previously was a professional pollster before she was married. Her name was Kellyanne Fitzpatrick, and she was a professional pollster and I believe image consultant. So keep that in the back of your mind too.
But here's the big major question nobody is asking. If she was Trump's campaign manager, the campaign is basically over, and she is not officially part of a transition team. So why in the world is she going on these various media appearances and making statements that giving briefings to the public, and she is not officially part of the transition team, and the campaign is over? And the fact is that when she is asked hard questions, she is resorting to personal attacks towards the media and critics, and as if there's some kind of cover-up going on here. She's been denouncing the recount as well as Trump, but she has been becoming the
That is an interesting thing. So when I get off the air later this evening, I will go and punch up some of her Sunday show appearances on the YouTube and see what they describe her.
And the weekday, too.
I'm sorry.
And the weekday appearances as well.
Because you point out something interesting. What is she? What is her legitimacy to? What is her legitimacy to speak if she's not part of the transition? But well,
yeah, she said on Meet the Press that she's just a concerned citizen. Well, guess what? I'm a concerned citizen. I don't have the damn platform or microphone. What makes her so doggone special?
Yeah, that's.
Being like a Trump messenger, so to speak. And she's been caught in multiple inconsistencies, if I can say falsehoods,
Mm-hmm.
and mainly due to a lot of speculations and flip-flops. Again, what the hell is going on in this nation regarding her and Trump? And I don't want to say this, but it's some kind of favor going on.
Well, we'll figure it out. It'll be interesting, but I don't have enough information to speculate. But that is an interesting question. Well, oh my goodness, Michael. Well, I got to run actually. So this is the end of the program. Michael, thanks always for calling. My name's Gene Garris. I'm filling in today for David Califf on this wonderful holiday edition of David Califf's Inside Politics. And you can catch my program, which is americasradioshow.com, in just a little bit, here on this same great station. So I'll encourage you, telephone number is 803-799-8255. That's 803-799-TALK. And I'll catch you on the flip side in just a couple minutes. I'm going to end this.